Daf Yomi, Daf Yomi, da 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 da. Daf Yomi Tractate Shevuos, page 23a, top of the page, with the words V'tirosh chamrahu dichtiv v'achalta. The idea, the topic that was being talked about was, is eating and drinking considered part of the same thing? Is drinking considered part of eating? And a verse was brought to prove that yes, it is. That shtia b'chlal achila, that drinking is considered a part of eating because it says the word tirosh v'dagan. That in the same verse it says, since the Hebrew word tirosh mentioned in the verse is wine, one drinks wine, and it's written with regard to it, and you shall eat. It says v'achalta, you should eat your grain, and then includes wine in there. This indicates that drinking is an activity included in eating. V'dilma al yedei anigron. D'amar Rabbi Shmuel anigron maya desilke aksigaron. Aksigrun. Maya dechule silki. The Gemara challenges, but perhaps the verse is referring to consuming wine by means of anigron. What does that mean? Anigron, as Rabbi Bar Shmuel says, anigron is a stew of beet greens and wine. And asigron is a stew of all types of vegetables. If so, I'm guessing with wine as well. If so, the wine in the verse is not drunk but eaten. But, my initial reaction is, come on. Do you think that the Torah in such a general state is talking about this specific case of a stew with wine? Or it's just saying wine is wine? It's getting real nitpicky here. Wouldn't you say? Okay, but that's what it says here. It could be. Ela Amar Rav Acha bar Yaakov mihacha. V'natata kesef b'chol asher tarei nafshecha. Haba karutza miyayin v'shecha. Yayin chamruhu tiv v'chalta. Okay. Rather, Rav Acha bar Yaakov said, cite from here, first written with regard to money, with which one has redeemed second tithe. And you shall bestow the money for whatsoever your soul desires, for oxen, for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever your soul asks of you. And you shall eat there before the Lord your God. And you shall rejoice, you and your household. Deuteronomy 14:26. The Hebrew word yayin mentioned in the verse is wine, and it is written, you shall eat. The Gemara challenges, but perhaps this verse is also referring to consuming wine by means of anigron. Shechar kativ midi de mishkakar. The Gemara rejects this. Strong drink is written in the verse, referring to something intoxicating, and wine mixed into stew is not intoxicating. V'dilma devela ki'ilit. Titania. Acham devela ki'ilit. V'shata devash v'chalav. V'nichas l'mikdash v'aval chayav. The Gemara challenges, but perhaps the intoxicating substance referred to in the verse is pressed figs from ki'ilah. As it is taught in the Braita, a priest who ate pressed figs from Keilah, or drank honey or milk, and then entered the temple and performed the sacrificial rites, is liable for violating the prohibition against conducting the temple service while intoxicated. Ela gamar shechar minozir ma lehalan yain avkan yain. Rather, one derives the meaning of strong drink in this verse by means of a verbal analogy Gzera Shava, from the verse about a Nazarite. He shall abstain from wine and strong drink. He shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat fresh grapes or dried. Numbers 6 verse 3. Just as there, the strong drink that is forbidden to the Nazarite is referring to a type of wine, so to here, the verse is referring to wine. Amarave afanan nami tanina shua shlochel ויאכל ושעשה אינו חייב אלא לאחס. אם עמד בשלומש תהיה בכלל אכילו, יצטריך לטעון להשמעינן, תהיינו חייב אלא אחס. אלא יעמד שתהיה עליו בכלל אכילו, שבועש לא אוכל, ויאכל יזמן אוכל. מי יצטריך להשמעינן, תהיינו חייב אלא אחס. Rava said, we learn in the Mishnah as well, that drinking is included in eating. The Mishnah teaches, if one said, on my oath, I will not eat, and then he ate and drank, he is liable to bring only one offering. Granted, if you say that drinking is included in eating, that is why it was necessary for the Tana to teach us that he is liable to bring only one offering. But if you say that drinking is not included in eating, there is no reason for the Tana to teach that it is only one violation. If one says, on my oath I will not eat, and he ate and performed some kind of labor, would it be necessary to teach that the person is liable to bring only one offering? He never took an oath prohibiting labor. כיוון דאמר שלא אוכל, יצר לבשתייה. כי אמר שלא אשתה, אמר חייב. אילו אמר שלא אשתה, תזימני, מי מחייב תרתי. Abai said to him, what rather is your conclusion? That drinking is included in eating? Say the latter clause of the Mishnah. If he said, on my oath, I will not eat and I will not drink, and then he ate and drank, he is liable to bring two offerings. According to you, Rava, once he said, I will not eat, drinking became forbidden to him. So when he said, I will not drink, why is he rendered liable to bring a separate offering? If he had said, I will not drink 2 times, would he be liable to bring 2 offerings? אמר לי, הטעם דאמר שלא אשתה, והדר אמר שלא אוכל, תשתיה בכלל אכילה ואית איתה. אכילה בכלל שתיה לתה. Rava said to him, there in the Mishnah, it is actually a case where he said, I will not drink, and then he said, I will not eat. Although it is so that drinking is including in eating, it is not so that eating is including in drinking. And the oath not to drink went into effect independently of the oath not to eat. Therefore, he is liable to bring 2 offerings. אבל אמר שבועש לא אוכל ושלא אשתה, ויאכל ושעשה מים. אינו חייב אלא אחס, יחי עד דתני רשע, שבועש לא אוכל, ויאכל ושעשה אינו חייב אלא אחס, לפני שבועש לא אוכל ושלא אשתה, אינו חייב אלא אחס. The Gemara asks, but according to this, if he said, on my oath, I will not eat and I will not drink, and he then ate and drank, what is the halacha? Is it that he is liable to bring only one offering? If that is so, rather than teaching in the first clause of the Mishnah that one who said, on my oath I will not eat, and then ate and drank, is liable to bring only one offering, let the Tana teach the following. If one says, on my oath, I will not eat, and I will not drink, and he ate and drank, he is liable to bring only one offering. From that ruling, it could be concluded that when one takes an oath, I will not eat, alone, all the more so is he liable to bring only one offering. אלא לעולם כדקטני, ושן יחד כיוון דאמר שלא אוכל, יעד אמר שלא אשתה, גל ידעתי דהך, אכילה דאמר, אכילה גרדתה היא. Rather, the Mishnah actually is as it is taught, that one who took an oath not to eat and drink, and then ate and drank, is liable to bring two offerings, even though drinking is included in eating. And here it is different, since he said, I will not eat, and then said, I will not drink. He revealed his intention that the eating that he stated first is eating alone, and does not include drinking. Amar Rav Ashi, Masnisa Namideka, Shevuos lo ochel, v'achal ochelin she'en, v'roin la'achilo, v'shas ha'mashkin she'en roin l'shtiya patro. Ha'roin chayav amai, ha'shvuos lo ochel kamal. Rav Ashi said, the Mishnah is also precisely formulated in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel that drinking is included in eating. It teaches, if he said, on my oath, I will not eat, and he ate foods that are inedible or drank liquids that are not potable, meaning drinkable, he is exempt. But if those liquids were fit for consumption, he would be liable. And why? The Mishnah teaches that he took an oath saying, on my oath I will not eat, without mentioning drinking, which indicates that drinking is included in eating. Dilma de amartarti, Shevuos lo ochel, Shevuos lo eshte. The Gemara rejects this. Perhaps the Mishnah is referring to a case where he said both, on my oath I will not eat, and on my oath I will not drink. The Mishnah did not spell out the second oath because its primary interest was in teaching that eating or drinking that which is inedible or not drinkable is not considered eating or drinking. Shevuah shelo ochel yachal pat chitin kule dilma lemiftar nafshe me'achranaita ka'ate. The Mishnah teaches that if one said, on my oath I will not eat, and then he ate wheat bread and barley bread, spelled bread, he is liable to bring only one offering. If he said, on my oath I will not eat wheat bread, or barley bread, or spelled bread, and then he ate all of them, he is liable to bring an offering for each one. The Gemara challenges, but perhaps when he details each type of bread, it comes to ensure that he exempts himself from having other foods included in the oath, not to indicate that each type of bread is a separate oath. The Gemara answers, if that was his intention, then he could have just said wheat, barley, and spelt without mentioning bread each time. But from the fact that he mentioned bread each time, it can be understood that his intention was that each be considered a separate oath. The Gemara rejects this, but if he did not mention bread, perhaps his oath could be interpreted to prohibit chewing, lachos, chewing whole kernels of these grains, and he consequently mentioned bread to limit the oath to bread. The Gemara suggests, if his intention was to ensure that his oath does not extend to other foods, he could have just said bread made from wheat or barley or spelt, and in that way his oath would be limited to just bread. The Gemara rejects this. If he had said in that way, perhaps his oath could be interpreted to prohibit him from eating wheat bread and from chewing whole kernels of barley or spelt. The Gemara suggests, if his intention was to ensure that his oath does not extend to other foods, he could have just said bread made from wheat and from barley and from spelt, thereby limiting his oath to types of bread. And now we're turning to page 23b, top of the page. The The Gemara rejects this, but if he had said that way, perhaps his oath could be interpreted to prohibit only bread made from a mixture of all these grains. Ema v'chein shel soyer v'chein shel kusmin pas lamali shma mina lechalek. The Gemara suggests if the specification in the Mishnah serves merely to ensure that his oath does not extend to other foods, have him say bread made from wheat, and so from barley, and so from spelt. Why do I need to repeat bread each time? Conclude from it that the point of repeating the word bread each time is to individuate each statement as a separate oath. Shevuos lo eshte v'shat mashkin harbe enochai v'la achas kule. I always wondered why in the Gemara it says sometimes vichule and sometimes it says kule. It's like, I think if I'd asked that in public, they'd think I'm really, a goofball. But I mean, I'm curious. Why does it sometimes say vichule and sometimes kule? I always think these things are not random. I tend to think they're not random. It's like Kathy. The Mishnah teaches, if he said, on my oath I will not drink, and then he drank several kinds of liquids, he is liable to bring only one offering. If he says, on my oath I will not drink wine, or oil, or honey, and he drank all of them, he is liable to bring an offering for each and every one. The Gemara asks, granted, there, in the case of bread, the ruling of the Mishnah is understood as you said, that the word bread before barley and the word bread before spelt are superfluous and serve to extend his liability, so that each is considered an independent oath. But here, where there is no superfluous language, what was there to say? Perhaps the oath comes to ensure that he exempts himself so that the oath does not extend to other liquids. Since that is a possibility, he should not be liable for breaking 3 separate oaths when he drank all 3 liquids. Amarav Papa, hacha b'menachin, לפני עסקינן, שהיה לו לא משבוש לא אשתה אלו, ודילמה אלו, הוא דלא שתינה, אחריני שתינה. Rav Papa said, we are dealing here with a situation where all 3 liquids were placed before him. Under the circumstances, if he merely wished to indicate that his oath is limited to these liquids, he could have said, on my oath, I will not drink these. Instead, he specified the liquids in the oath. It was in order to indicate that each should be considered a separate oath. The Gemara challenges, but had he said, I will not drink these, perhaps his oath would be interpreted as meaning, it is these liquids which are before me right now that I will not drink, but I will drink other wine, oil, and honey. That's a good point. How would you differentiate between those 2 oaths? Ela dama shvua shlo shetina kegon elu. Dama kegon elu. Shlo shetina mitzir mehachit ve mehachit shetina. The Gemara answers, rather, if he merely wished to indicate that his oath is limited to these types of liquids, it would be a case where he said, on my oath, I will not drink liquids such as these. The Gemara challenges, had he said it that way, perhaps it could be interpreted as referring to the volume of the liquids. I will not drink liquids such as these, but I will drink less than this, or more than this. The Gemara answers, rather, if he merely wished to indicate that his oath is limited to these types of liquids, it is a case where he said, on my oath, I will not drink from these types of liquids. The Gemara challenges, but had he said it that way, perhaps his oath would be interpreted to mean, I will not drink these types of liquids in general, but I will drink these particular liquids in front of me. The Gemara suggests, if the point of the specification of liquids in the Mishnah was merely to ensure that his oath does not extend to other liquids, have him say, on my oath, I will not drink these and liquids of their types. Since he instead specified wine, oil, and honey, one may conclude that his intention was to individuate each liquid as a separate oath. בוא שתה עמי יין ושמן דבש, תהיה לו לומר שבוע שלא אשתה עמך. יין ושמן ודבש, למה לי? לחייב על כל אחד יחד. Rav Acha, the son of Ika, said, we are dealing with a case in which another is importuning him to drink it, as he said to him, come, drink wine and oil and honey with me. People drink oil? If he wanted him to desist, he should have said, on my oath, I will not drink with you. Under these circumstances, why don't you specify wine, oil, and honey? The specification of a liquid serves to indicate his intention to render himself liable for each and every one. Tanan Hasam, ten li chitin u'sa'oirin nechus min sheyesh li biyadcha, shvua she'en lecha biyadi klum, אינו חייב אלחס, שבוע שאין לך בידי חיטין ושעורין נחוס מין, חייב על כל אחת ויחס. We learned in the Mishnah elsewhere, 36b, with regard to an oath concerning a deposit, that if one says to his bailey, give me my wheat, barley, and spelt that are in your possession, and the bailey lies and says, on my oath, nothing of yours is in my possession, he is liable to bring only one guilt offering. But if the bailey says, on my oath, I do not have in my possession any wheat, barley, or spelt that belong to you, he is liable to bring a separate offering for each and every one. And Rabbi Yochanan says, with regard to that Mishnah, that he is liable even if the value of all three species combines to amount as little as one pruta. Pligi Baravina, Chadamar Aprati Michayev, Aklali lo Michayev, Chadamar Aklali lo Michayev. Rav Acha and Ravina disagree with regard to this. One said, when the bailey says, on my oath, I do not have in my possession any wheat, barley, or spelt that belong to you, he is liable to bring a guilt offering only for violating the specific oaths for individual types of grain, and he is not liable for violating a general oath that he does not have anything in his possession. Consequently, Rabbi Yochanan's statement that the different types of grains can be combined to amount to one pruta is referring only to the oath in the first clause of the Mishnah where he did not specify the grains. And one said he is also liable for violating a general oath, and in the latter clause of the Mishnah he is liable for violating 4 oaths. In general, one general oath is that he does not have anything in his possession, and 3 specific oaths, 1 for each type of grain. Consequently, Rabbi Yochanan's statement applies also to where he specifies the grains, as he is liable to bring one offering, even when all 3 species combine to amount to only 1 pruta. Hachamai, the Gemara asks here, in the case of one who takes an oath that he will not eat wheat bread, barley bread, or spelt bread, what is the halacha? Is there a dispute as to whether he is considered to have taken a general oath alongside the specific oaths? Amarave hachahashta achihashta achihashta Amaraba hachihashta Ama hasim mechayev klala b'mechayev parta Ti'ai mishtaba v'hadar mishtaba mechayev tarti hachai salkadaitach ita b'klala aparti amaycha mechayev Rava said, how can these cases be compared? There, in the case of an oath of a deposit, he is liable for the general oath and for the specific oath, since if a bailey takes an oath denying that he is in possession of a deposit and then takes another oath to the same effect, he is liable for taking 2 false oaths on a deposit. Here, with regard to an oath to prohibit oneself from eating, if it enters your mind that he is bound by a general oath, why would he be liable for the specific oaths? He is already under an oath due to the general oath, and an oath cannot take effect when the matter it prohibits is already forbidden by another oath. Shevuos lo ochel v'chulei haguf akashya Amrit Shevuos lo ochel v'yachar ochlin she'en ruin l'achila b'shat mashkin she'en ruin l'ashtiya patur v'yadar tani Shevuos lo ochel v'yachar nevelos etreifos shkatzim u'masim chayav ma'ish naresha de patur ma'ish nasever de chayav. The Mishnah teaches that if one said, "On my oath I will not eat," and he ate foods that are inedible, he is exempt. If he said, "On my oath I will not eat," and then he ate the meat of unslaughtered carcasses, he is liable. The Gemara asks, this Mishnah itself is difficult. You said that if one said, "On my oath I will not eat," and he ate foods that are inedible or drank liquids that are not drinkable, he is exempt. And then the Mishnah teaches that if one says, "On my oath I will not eat," and then he ate the meat of unslaughtered carcasses or treifot, repugnant creatures or creeping animals, he's liable. What is different about the first clause that he is exempt, and what is different about the latter clause that he's liable? Non-kosher animals are also unfit to be eaten. The Gemara answers, this is not difficult. The first clause is where he took an oath not to eat without specifying what is included in it. Presumably his oath did not include items that are not ordinarily eaten. And the latter clause is a case where he specifies what it is he will not eat. For example, unslaughtered carcasses, and nevertheless eats them. The Gemara asks, you may also raise a difficulty with regard to the case where he specifies that he will not eat non-kosher items. Why? He is under oath from Mount Sinai, and an oath does not take effect to prohibit that which is already forbidden. Rav and Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan all say that this is a case where he incorporates into the oath that he will not eat some permitted items along with the statement concerning the forbidden items. Since the oath takes effect with regard to the permitted items, it extends also to the forbidden ones. Reish Lakish Amar, I atamotze, ela I mifarish chazi shiur, ve'ariv d'Rabbanan I b'stam ariba d'Rabbi Kiva, d'Amar Adam oser atzmo b'chol shehu. And Reish Lakish says you find that one is liable for eating non-kosher food as a result of an oath, only if it is an oath where he specifies that it includes a half measure, and in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis that one is not liable for eating a half measure unless it is specified in the oath. Since eating a half measure is not prohibited to our law, the oath takes effect. Alternatively, you find that one is liable if he took the oath without specifying that the oath prohibits less than the usual measure, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Kiva, who says that a person renders himself prohibited from eating any amount by taking an oath not to eat. Lo Amar Reish Lakish Mokim Le Masnisin Divrei Kol Ela Reish Lakish My Time De Lo Amar Rabbi Yochanan. The Gemara asks, granted, it is understood why Rabbi Yochanan did not say like Rabbi Lakish, as he interprets the Mishnah so that it is in accordance with the opinion of everyone. But what is the reason that Reish Lakish does not say like the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan? Amar Lacha Ki Amrin Isur Kola. The Gemara answers, Reish Lakish could say to you, when we say that a more inclusive prohibition, which adds additional aspects to the prohibition for the same individual, can take effect where there already is a prohibition in place,